Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Static Echoes. You're all in for a treat tonight because I'm testing my outside broadcast setup. So you're listening in now on my mobile podcasting gear. I don't know how it's going to sound, so hopefully it's going to sound pretty close to what the studio sounds like. But tonight I'm joined by my beautiful wife, Lynn, again, because a lot of people did like listening to her talk last time. And we're talking about that old nugget, paranormal integrity. How are you, darling?
I'm very good, thank you.
Do you want to kick us off on this one? Because I know I'll take you straight down the wrong path with this.
Yes, I think tonight we'd like to talk about integrity in the paranormal field. That there's a few branches that can go off in, paths that can lead to, talking about whether people are genuinely doing things for genuine reasons.
Yeah.
Whether people are genuinely experts.
Mm-hmm.
Whether people are genuinely psychic is probably another path that you can go down. Whether we'll get to that one is another, it depends where the conversation leads, I guess. But there are a lot of people taking advantage of vulnerable people in a very vulnerable time.
Yeah.
In their life, when people feel like they're under paranormal, not even a paranormal attack, but quite often people are become interested in the paranormal because of things that are happening in their life. That's correct, isn't it? That either they've lost a loved one or they're themselves facing their own mortality, perhaps, is another reason people get into that field. And so people are vulnerable at that time. So there are people with the gift of the gab who tell them that they want what they want to hear. There are people that, my apologies, there are people that, Gary gets upset with me for saying so you probably won't hear me say
They've just said it twice.
When I say the unmentionable, maybe that's where the word comes from. Unmentionable. Gary will have to edit them out, so that I'm in trouble every time I say it. I digress. People get often taken advantage of during a very vulnerable time, and where integrity falls in that, from my perspective, is knowing Gary and people that Gary works with who are doing the things they do, whether it's going on ghost hunts, whether it's going to people's homes and helping them with things that are happening in their home, or even if it's just people who want to chat to Gary about their experience. Gary goes about it with a level of honesty, integrity, and respect for those people, and wants nothing in return, which is so important, because as soon as you make it a transactional thing, that's where integrity starts to fall away, in my opinion. Would you agree with me, Gary?
Yeah. Yeah, we've actually noticed this happening over the last several years, in all honesty, in different degrees, and I think everybody out there in the wider paranormal field around the world all know that one group that's wanting to make money out of it, or they're in it for the fame, or they're in it for this, or they're in it for that, and it's never in it to help the families that are actually in need. And that's, to me, is the core of being a paranormal team member and running my own team, is helping people who have got nowhere else to go. And what I've been hearing lately, and again, I'm not going to name any names, I'm not going to name any team names, I'm not going to name any specific locations or anything like that, but it has been brought to my attention that there are people out there who are definitely in it for the wrong reasons. And one of the big things I always talk about is paranormal unity, and how teams work together to further the field of study. I do believe in that. A lot of people don't, and that's where these things start to show themselves and rear their ugly heads, because we're all in it to obviously better understand what's going on, but also to help families who are desperate for it. And the last thing they want people to do is to come in and set it all up like it's a TV show. And that's what's happening.
Yes, I agree with you on that one. And I also think an important part of paranormal integrity is telling people the truth, not and maybe bringing it in rather than what's the word I'm looking for? The word I'm looking for is not making it worse. What's a way of describing that? I'm not sure, but you know what I mean? Like people go to someone's house and, for instance, and instead of looking first for real world solutions, they go immediately, it's a demon. There's a demon in your house.
Yeah.
Or it's a ghost, or it's almost like they're trying to reel people in and gain something more from those people. And you're not really thinking of those people when you do that.
Yeah.
Are you?
No.
No.
Well, I'm actually, like I said, what brought this about was a conversation I had through the week with a member of another team, and he was called in to help out this family who have some serious stuff happening. And he was originally called in as a favour for another team, but that's where things start to fall apart, because he has since been contacted by the original team who have been dealing with this house for several months and they have not gotten anywhere. And in fact, the team leader thought she saw something that freaked her out and ran out of the house, leaving the people that were dealing with it to deal with it and potentially making things worse to the family. And that's where integrity has a big part. I'm sorry, this is an emotional thing for me, so there's no sort of plan on where we're going with this. You know, when you're a family in dire need, you don't want people coming in claiming to be experts, because everybody knows there's no experts in the paranormal field. Just people with different amounts of experience. No one's an expert. So if they claim to be an expert, that's the first red flag to stay away from them. And what's happening now is there's a level of ownership over the case, even though the family in need of help have chosen to go with a different group. The original group are sort of saying, no, this is ours. And they're trying to stop the family from getting help elsewhere. That is a big no-no. It's terrible.
We're going down the path.
I told you it wouldn't take long. Because this is how passionate I am about this whole thing.
And I understand that. But obviously, there's other people involved, so we don't want to go too much into it because there's a family involved. But I think where integrity starts in anything, let alone paranormal research or paranormal helping people, whatever you call that, is integrity in yourself. Don't go in there and tell them things that you're not sure of yourself. One of the things that I'm really self-aware of all the time is what I'm feeling true?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where integrity starts. It starts with you. It starts with knowing whether what you're feeling is true or whether it's something you're making up as you go along. And from what the small amount I've heard about this, there appears to be a bit of making stuff up as we go along.
A lot. There's a lot.
A lot of stuff of making up as we go along, which again is not helping anyone.
No. And I could go into a lot of specifics about this, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try not to do that. But that's me putting my feet down. These microphones are so sensitive. What's happening in this specific case is these people came in and, again, I'm not going to talk about the family or anything like that, but the first thing they started telling the family was, you've got demons. They hadn't even started pulling their gear out and doing an investigation, not even a preliminary investigation. They just went straight to, you've got demons. Now, I work in the construction industry and I have a great deal of knowledge about how buildings are put together and what can cause certain noises, this, that, and the other. So logically, when I go into a place, and Lynn can back this up, I'm looking straight for the natural solution. You know, Is it a breeze path causing things to happen? Have you got a wonky floorboard somewhere that's creaking and making it sound like there's footsteps happening? This, that, the other. I've got to rule out every possible real-world scenario before I even look at a paranormal solution. That's the way you get a credible investigation up and running. When you go straight to it's demonic, no. Demonic cases are very, very rare. Yes, you might have an angry spirit, or you might have a spirit wanting to cause problems and really cause issues with the family members. It doesn't mean it's demonic. And these people are at their wit's end. And I just think you have to go into it and talk to them and not scare the hell out of this family. Even if you do find something that may be very malevolent, you don't blurt it out to them like that, because when you walk away from the house, you're leaving them in the house dealing with that, and now dealing with the emotional stress of, oh, I've got a demon in the house, even though you might not have a demon at all.
Yeah, agreed.
And again, I'm going to try to steer away from a lot of this because it really gets my goat up, but it did bring up the whole thing about integrity in the paranormal field and people who charge for their services, whether it be a psychic, whether it be a team or whatever. And we've had this conversation many times about there is a place for real psychics, inverted brackets on the real part of that. And they offer something to people who come chasing them for readings and things. There's a place for that.
There is, but I mean, I've been to a number of psychics, and I've got a level of skepticism when it comes to all of these things. I go into anything with an open mind, but I always try and stay in the real world. As far as I'm concerned, a psychic medium has to prove themselves to me before I'm giving them any money.
Yeah.
I don't pay till the end. And if they haven't, it's like a hairdresser. It's the same thing. If you stuff up my hair, I'm not paying you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you don't prove to me that you can tell me something that actually makes sense to me and is going to help me, then good luck getting any money from me. Yeah. Basically, they need to prove themselves. And just because somebody tells you they're psychic, it doesn't mean they are. And quite often psychics, I mean, we've come across a few or people that claim to, and before I even met you, I've come across people who claim to be psychic, but claiming to be psychic and being a psychic medium are two very separate things.
Yeah.
Very separate things, and people need to be really wary. Just because somebody tells you they're psychic, it doesn't mean they are.
No. And when I started WAPR up, originally it was just a couple of us. I brought a couple of people in, and we were just investigators. There wasn't a psychic bone between us. And it didn't take long before we piqued the interest of a certain person. I'm not going to name names, but she said she was a psychic medium and proceeded to help out with some of these investigations, and she was really good. Now, leading on from that, I am still very suspicious, very suspect of anybody who claims to be psychic, even people that are friends of mine. And she wasn't at the time, but she did become almost like family when she was involved in WAPR in the early years. We don't really talk much now, but there was one night when we went to my sensei's place and one of his business partners, Dorothy's, for dinner. And she pulled out this little thing. It was like a parcel within a parcel within a parcel, and asked the psychic to say what was in there. And I'm like, oh, here we go. I'm going to really find out that she doesn't know a bloody thing about it here. And it's a bit of a test on Dorothy's part to this person. To my surprise, she came out with the weirdest things, and I thought, oh, no, I'm going to have to go home early tonight. But when Dorothy said, open the box up, now this was like a cloth bag. Within that, there was a wooden box. Within the wooden box, there was another bag, and within the bag were the items. And to my surprise, she bloody nailed it. She got every single one of them, and it was like, all right, she's just proven to me she is the real deal. Now you go to the other side of the coin, and I've had people who claim to be psychic in the team who, and excuse my crudeness, but are about as psychic as my left testicle.
They've just got the gift of the gab.
Not my testicles, no.
No.
But that's creepy. All of it.
Anyway, let's carry on.
Yeah.
We're going down a path, Gary.
Mm-hmm. No, we're stopping that one.
Yes, there are some people with the gift of the gab. They can make people think that they're psychic, but they're not really. They're just making things up as they go along, basically. And again, they have to prove themselves as far as I'm concerned. And I've only had a very small amount of people in my life prove to be psychic. Yeah, that's about all I've got to say on that one. But just be very careful. I think it's just letting people know they should be really careful who they give money to.
Yes.
And don't give money to people who don't help you.
Yeah.
Basically, who just tell you a load of
rot. For instance, if you go to like a psychic fair or one of those kind of places where they have different mediums and psychics around, and they've all got their little banners up and they've all got their rates up, don't go automatically for the cheapest, or don't go automatically for the most expensive. You have to walk past each and every one of them, and I can guarantee you're going to get a vibe when there's the right one there, and that's the one you go with no matter what the charge is, because let's face it, if you go to the cheap one, you're getting a cheap reading, which could be straight off the back of a Kellogg's cornflakes box, you know what I mean?
I mean, a good example of that for me is when we went to the medieval fair and I walked past the lady that was reading tarot, and I very rarely have my tarot cards read. I think that's actually the second time perhaps that someone's read tarot for me, but something told me, the universe, I don't know, whatever it is that tells you these things, you need to sit with this lady today and she's going to tell you something. And she was really, really helpful. Well, she didn't change my life, but she just reassured me on a couple of things that I had been worried about. She got my money because she told me what I sat down for, and I didn't even realise myself what I was worried about. But she told me why I sat down there, and as soon as she said what she said, I was like, of course that's why I wanted to talk to you today. How silly of me not to realise. And we ended up having, I think she was, I won't say what she was charging, but she went over the time. Yeah. She didn't ask me for any more money. She was genuinely kind and reassured me of a few things that I'd been worrying about, which is what I was paying for. But so obviously I don't know that tarot readers are psychic mediums. I think they have a different connection with the universe, I guess, don't they? But, I mean, I think anybody can read tarot. Those kind of people, as Gary was saying, you know which one is going to help you. For whatever reason, the universe tells you which one to go and see. And if you have someone in front of you telling you they're psychic and something inside you is going, this is a load of shit, which Gary knows I've experienced more than once in the last few years, I have been too nice to say it to the person that's pretending to be psychic, but I've most certainly said it to Gary afterwards. Sorry. Listen to the voice that's telling you it's a load of shit as well, because they're probably right.
Yeah. Intuition. Yeah. You know, you're going to see these people. Now you can say they're all intuitive. They all have their own ways that they do things, and you'll get a feel for it pretty quickly. You know, you got to remember it's your hard-earned money that you're passing over to this person to get a reading. You don't want to get a shit one. And like what Lynn was saying, some of these psychics are very gifted cold readers, and what they will do is they will lead you in a certain direction so that you will give out certain clues without even thinking about it, and that will take the reading to the next stage. So you think, oh my God, these guys are really psychic. No, it is a skill that can be learned. It is not, I mean, being a psychic, everybody's got psychic ability. It's just a matter of whether you can harness it and whether you can understand it. A lot of people will just pass it off as, like I said, still call it intuition, but you have that feeling, you get the vibe and things like that. That's a kind of psychic ability, not necessarily speaking to the dead or telling a person's future or seeing what's on the cards for them. But psychic ability comes in a lot of different forms, and you don't want to get somebody who's going to lead you in a certain direction just because they're looking at you. They can take an idea of the sort of person you are just based on what you look like, and they're going to lead you to a place where you think, yeah, I'm happy with that. And then you walk away feeling all happy as Larry. They've just, in all honesty, led you into your own little story, and that's all it is. It's a story. And then on to the next. When you get a real psychic, they will say things to you that are profound. They'll say things to you that will come out of nowhere, and you might not necessarily understand straight away, but one day it will definitely click, and they will say it as it is and leave you to fill in the blanks. And they're the type that you want to be involved with, because they're not feeding you a load of garbage. They're telling you what they're picking up. They don't know who you are. They don't understand your story, but they just give you the facts and then you sort it out.
You also have to remember that all of us have a bit of a digital footprint as well, and quite often they've already done their research before you even walk in. If you've booked a psychic somewhere.
I'm still talking about some of these guys at the fairs and things like that. But yeah, if you book a psychic reading, quite often,
don't give them your surname.
Weeks or months in advance. Don't give them your surname. Try to give them as little information as possible. And because the first thing they'll do is they'll start running your name. They'll run your phone number. They'll pull up your social media, and then the next thing you know, they're telling you all stuff.
Oh, you've got 2 daughters.
Yeah.
And a son.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm picking up a J name or a D name.
Yeah, exactly.
And you go, oh, wow. And it's definitely not the case. So just be very wary. And like I said, if you're going to see somebody about a reading, make sure you don't give them enough information that they can just read Facebook.
I had an experience with a lady who didn't know my surname, looked at a photo of my dad. The first 2 things she said was he had 5 sugars in his tea, and I was like, yes. And he's telling you when you get home, look at the lemon tree, it's got bugs on it. My father was an avid gardener and particularly good at growing citrus fruit. She did not get that from anywhere except the universe. She got that from my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's she got money from me.
Yes, that's it.
I mean, that went for an hour and there was a lot more involved, but she convinced me very quickly that she had at least some kind of gift.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was no way of knowing that unless he was telling her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was amazing, and that was a lovely experience, and that's what I would like everybody to have when they go and do those kind of things. But I don't think it's just about psychic mediums. I think if anyone's charging you money to do anything to do with the paranormal, I've had this conversation with a friend of ours the other night. You can't quantify or put value on something, and I don't mean any disrespect, but you can't quantify it. There's no absolute proof that anything is real. So there is no value that you can put on that. You can't charge people. You can't charge people to show them how to use equipment. You can't charge people to you can't show people things that nobody, like you said earlier, can be an expert on. You're not an expert. You've just done it for 5 minutes longer than me. That doesn't make you an expert.
Yeah.
Again, going back to integrity, and who I look up to if I'm thinking of someone with integrity is, again, my husband. He does public hunts. He teaches people things. He shows people his knowledge. He shows people his experience, his journey. He tells them his stories. He shows them how to use equipment. He doesn't charge them for it. That's appalling. It's appalling. And it shouldn't happen. It's not a hobby, but what would you describe paranormal research and ghost hunting as it's not really a hobby, but
it's a calling. It's a calling.
It's an interest and a calling, yes.
I go back to a interview that I did on an American radio show maybe 15 years ago. And he asked the question, what do you do for a living? And I told him, and he goes, oh, so he goes, what do you think of the paranormal? Do you call it a hobby? And while technically you can say it is a hobby, as in it's something you're interested in, you're not getting paid for it. What happens is when you get a reputation for doing things the right way, people find their way to you, and
so true.
What happens there is you help them out, and you explain to them what's going on. And I will go through, and I'll explain everything to any person if I'm doing a residential case, whether we're doing a public investigation like Lynn was just talking about, because I'm not an expert. Nobody is an expert. If somebody says they're an expert, the first thing you do is walk away from them straight away because they're talking shit. Yes, you can say you've got experience and tell them how many years, and I can tell everybody that I've been doing this for well over 40 years. So in that time, you do find a lot of people talking crap. You do work the similarities from case to case, so you can form an opinion on what a specific entity may be. Again, there's no hard facts, as Lynn was saying. There's no proof of any of this. It's just going from your years of experience. There's that word again. And what's happening now is people are portraying themselves as experts, becoming, how do I put this, guest speakers at specific events. And these people have got less than 2 years experience in the field. And to tell you the truth, when you watch them do an investigation, they're emulating Ghost Adventures. They're emulating any number of those TV shows that you see. And anybody who's a real paranormal investigator is already cringing, because that is not how a real paranormal investigation happens. And a lot of people who, again, 9 times out of 10, these people that are having issues are seeing things happening around their house, and they're watching one of these shows and they go, oh, that's what's happening here. Suddenly they're already frightening themselves, thinking they've got something paranormal when it probably isn't. And then they call people for help. Now, one of the things I'm going to say up front is the worst fakes of all are usually the loudest out there. Yes, I know I've got my podcast and everything, but you will never see anything on Facebook. You will never see anything about any kind of a residential case, because they are 100% confidential. And I know of a few groups around at the moment who are actually not only putting the information up there in the public domain without the family's knowledge, so that's a big no-no again.
It's a big no-no with anything.
With anything, no. Yeah. And, all right, I'm just going to say it. They are refusing to give the family any evidence that they say they've captured. So they're telling the family that they've captured this, captured that, to keep them in this fear cage that they're stuck in. But they won't produce any of this evidence for the family to actually see what they've caught. So it's like, telling somebody, I'm a psychic, this is what's happening, prove it. You have to take my word at it, because...
All my money.
All my money.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying there's money involved. Sorry, I'm getting away from the microphone. I'm not saying there's money involved in this case at all, which is a good thing. But again, what's happening is they're not helping the family out. They are issuing certain bits all around the internet, and again, without the family's knowledge. And they are pushing any other teams who have been invited in away, and they're actually saying that these other teams are making things worse, when in fact they haven't even actually been there. So that tells me everything I need to know about dealing with a team like that. And again, I'm not going to name names, and I'm sorry for anybody who may be searching for a decent team to deal with something you might have going on at your place. But I do have to maintain integrity and not name these teams.
I think there's more than one.
That's why I said teams, plural. But what I can guarantee you is if by chance they come across this podcast, it's going to ring very true in their ears. They're going to know what's happening, but and who we're talking about. But to everybody else, this is just a word of warning on be careful about who you bring into your house and around your family.
Okay, so I think what it all boils down to, and I think the reason that we wanted to, I guess, have this conversation is just be really careful who you trust when it comes to these things, because some people will, I guess people have a motive, don't they? People have an agenda, and if the agenda's good, you'll know pretty soon if it's genuine, if it's real, if they actually want to help you.
100%. I mean, I have an agenda. My agenda is helping families out.
That's what I'm saying.
And helping anybody who is wanting to get into the paranormal and investigate. I want to pass on what I know to them, because when the day comes when I step away from it, which is probably going to be the day I drop dead, I want to make sure I passed on as much of what the knowledge I have so that the next generation can take up the mantle and keep this field alive.
Yeah.
If somebody is going to be selfish enough to not share their secrets, anything that they may have learned that's genuine is not going to be shared, and it's not going to be passed on.
And I think, I mean, I obviously haven't been involved in paranormal field as long as you, and it's not, I mean, I really enjoy it, and you know how I get a lot of enjoyment out of it, but it's not, I'm not as passionate about it as you, but I still can tell you, I mean, I can tell you many moments in the quite a few years now that I've been going out with you and seeing people learn how to do things, and or going to people's houses, or all the different things that we do. I've got quite a few memorable moments of someone's first real, whether it's real or not, we can never say, but what they feel is a real connection with something paranormal. And that's what you do it for. Yeah. It's not for money, and it's not for fame, and it's not for even being able to say that you're an expert. It's just, it's because you connect with those people. And one of the things that I love about genuine paranormal researchers or paranormal, whatever you want to call people that are into this stuff, the real genuine ones are open-minded, wonderful, kind-hearted people who would travel to the other side of Perth just to tell you don't have a ghost in your house.
Travel to the other side of the country as well. Yeah. I mean, we've been international. You know, I've investigated it all around the world. Yeah.
And again, I don't want to get too specific because people tell us quite a lot of their private stories, but there's been a few times where Gary and I have gone to a house and told people, this is not actually, you don't have a spirit in your house. There's things going on. As soon as we walked in, we can see there's things going on, and there's things that you probably need to sort in your life that are making you feel vulnerable.
Yeah.
We aren't counsellors, so we can't counsel you, and we can't even tell you to do that. But there's not a ghost in your house, or there's not a spirit in your house. Or if there is, it's a little trickster who's just come in because you're vulnerable.
Yeah.
But you need to sort what's going on within you.
Yeah, what you got to remember is everybody who has something going on in their life can attract certain energies, and those energies then can attract spirits potentially. But at the same time, if you're in that sort of zone, you can see things that aren't really there, as in your mind fills in the blanks, and then, you know, what potentially is just a breeze coming down a hallway from an open window turns out to be, you know, your great Auntie Sally walking past, and
The old battle axe.
The old battle axe, yeah. And, you know, you start, your imagination starts taking it to the next place. So,
and I've had personal experience of that, and you know I have. I still don't know what was attached to me it was a few years ago, whether it was all something going on inside of me, because again, you can't quantify, you can't prove. But I had some help from a very gifted young woman who we won't name, but if she ever listens to this, she'll know who I'm talking about. I'm so grateful to her. And she helped me. How she did it, I'll never know. She's amazing. Remove whatever that negative energy was. I can't give it a name, whether it was because of things that I'd experienced, past trauma, all those things that everyone of a certain age has got.
Now,
skeletons in their closet.
Yeah. Let me just add to that. This particular person, I met her when she was a teenager, and her mother actually got in contact with me because she was being attacked by something when she was younger and didn't know how to deal with it. She was at a wit's end, and again, because of my reputation, and that's what gets around, I was called in to help out, and I recognised what was going on, and I was able to help the family out to the point where I was told by her mother that she actually basically called me her adopted father. That's how much respect for helping her out. Now, she's a businesswoman. She has a family of her own. She has a thriving business from what I've heard. And because of helping out, no monetary gain at all, you know, there was no money crossed hands, nothing like that, but just because I helped out, and I was there continually to help out, not just after the case happened, but times afterwards.
Even tomorrow if she called you.
Yeah. And as a result of that, when I met Lynn, and Lynn was going through what she was going through, I contacted this person, and basically she dropped everything, came down, and did what she did. So you'll get your rewards for doing things the right way in other ways. Reward doesn't have to be monetary, you know, because a lot of people just go, I want to make money at this, but there are things out there which are way more important than money, and they're the things that really do matter.
Yes, absolutely. It's a very rewarding thing to do if you do it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on that, I think we are just about out of time.
Okay. You're the boss.
All right. Thank you all for tuning in.
I just recorded that. Oh, my goodness.
That is staying. There's nothing getting edited out there at all. That is there for
Gary
life.
is not the boss. Gary is not the boss. Gary is not
that
the boss.
That is going all over the internet. And I'm going to get the T-shirts printed up and everything. So if I actually did that, my life would not be worth living, because she is my wife and she does cook dinners and everything.
And she is the boss.
No, I am not going to say that live at all. I am just going to say it's time for us to go now, my love.
Okay, boss of this podcast. Totally.
All right, everybody. Until next week, take it easy and keep looking up.
Bye.